Well, good day, everybody. And should I also say happy new year? Listen, you made it to 2021. I like to say 2020 WON. Yeah, because I'm already excited that I've won this year. After last year, can't help but win this year, right? That's what I'm saying. It's a winning year. That's what I'm talking about. Well, for those who have not joined me before, this is Charmaine Miller, founder and CEO of Proactive Skill Developers, where we help educators work harder on themselves than they do on their jobs. Let's just say that I'm your running partner on this journey of continual learning and personal growth. Well, I want to kick off our little session by asking you a question. In fact, I want to pose the question to you that one of my business coaches posed to me. She asked me this question last week at the opening of the year. She says, Dr. Sean, how are you going to start? Fast or slow? And so I'm like, okay, what kind of question is that? So I'm going to ask you that same question. How are you going to start, or how have you started? Fast or slow? No, it's not a trick question, but think carefully for a minute. How will you begin? How will you proceed? How will you get moving this year, this January? What will it be? A fast, get out the gate, get started and get running, or slow and gradual? Well, as you contemplate your answer to that question, here is what I want to share with you. And it's just a little story because I was thinking about how I'm starting this particular year and how I'm getting moving this month of January. You know, when I was a child, I was pretty much a tomboy. And I guess it was because in our neighborhood, there were mostly boys. You know, wasn't a lot of girls to hang with, okay? Mostly boys. So anything that the boys did, I did. I had an older brother, of course, so his friends were boys. So when they came around, I was there. So you always saw me in the mix. And some of the things we, go trailing, I don't know if you all know what trailing is. We call it trailing when you are on someone's bike or, and you're riding through the neighborhood, just trailing. We call it trailing, going on trails. And skating and climbing trees and playing marbles in the dirt. And one thing we used to do was we actually made and played with a slingshot. And we didn't have the sophisticated ones that they have now that people would buy out of the store, and it looks so, really neat and compact. We actually went in the bushes looking for twigs that had this Y shape, yeah? Especially it was firm, like this one, okay? And we would take off all the excess pieces, and we would put our elastic band on the end and put a little patch in the middle. That's where we would put our stone or whatever we wanted to shoot, all right, at the things we were targeting. We targeted just about everything, okay? Lizards, and if we found frogs, or if we found, any kind of bugs that we think we could aim at. Sometimes we even saw little tiny, birds. Don't tell anybody that, but, we call them chimneys. But we used to use this thing. Now, one thing I noticed when we did use the slingshot is that when we had to shoot at something, we took our time to pull it back. We pull it back real slowly, and we aimed. And we look at what we're going to shoot, and we breathe easy. Then we release. Now, that whole time of taking our time to pull it back, looking at it, helped us to focus as to whether or not we're going to get the target. Yeah? And that's what happened anytime we used our slingshot. Okay? Now, what does a slingshot have to do with how you're getting started? Well, I hope you all heard some of the things I mentioned just now that we do when we're actually using the slingshot. I thought it would give us some wisdom as to how we would start. That's why I wanted to find out from you, how are you getting started this year? Well, in the same way that we used the slingshot and we took our time and pulled back, I want to implore you to do the same thing. Don't get rushing starting it off, because sometimes many times it works against us. I want you to go at a slower pace at the beginning right now. Pace yourself. Pull back. Center yourself. Review and reflect if you haven't done that yet at the close of 2020. Strategize. Get re-energized. Figure out what you want to do. Now, I'm not asking you, when I say start slow, I'm not saying sit around and procrastinate. No, that's not what I'm actually advocating at all. I'm saying you want to last, right, through the whole year. Then starting off fast is not the best option. Don't try to get everything done this month. Don't try and plan all your lessons for January, February, March, April this week. You talking about burnout? You will be burnt out. Don't try and get every document that you need to have for your students done like right now. It's not going to work. You are going to be irritated. You're going to become so despondent because you think you should be going faster and you didn't want to get, bogged down, and you'll find that you will. So I want to implore you to start a little slower. Be a little bit more intentional. And you know what to do during this slower period? And here's what I'm doing. I'm working on putting in systems and procedures and certain rituals in place so that I can make the rest of the year productive. I'm even working on what set of words I'm going to be saying to myself every day. My mantra, my affirmations. I'm working on what songs. I just shared a song with my sister today, a little mantra that we're going to be using because we want to manifest a little bit more in our finances. And so it was a nice little fun song. All of these things are what I'm doing as I'm pulling back to move slower. I'm building my set of rituals. See, because we don't create our future, we create our habits. Hey guys, it's me again. I think our internet decided it was going to do its own number. And I don't want that to be one of the habits that it creates for me this particular year. But that's actually where we stop on that word habits. And let me just say to you, we do not create our future. People think, I'm going to create the best future. Here's what we do. We create our habits. And our habits create our future. So what habits are you pulling back to create? What rituals are you pulling back to formulate so that you can be more effective, so that you can go for the long haul and not quit? That's what I want to implore you to do, is to develop those habits, develop those rituals, procedures that you need to do, all right? And, I always like to talk about writing and how writing, a lot of what we do parallels with what we do with writing. And even writers pull back. Think about it. When we start off with the writing process, we are pre-writing, aren't we? We're taking time to now think back. Okay, what I want to write about. Think about what we want to say. Plan it out in our heads. That's pulling back. We're using that slingshot wisdom even when we're writing. All right. So, I got to put a little something in there for our writers and our teachers of writing so you can know that what we are saying here applies to us personally as leaders in the classroom, but it also applies to us as persons who are teaching writing and who are writers themselves. Take time to pull back. Take time to reflect. Take time to put in some strategies and figure out a plan. All right, the same way we're going to do at the beginning of this year. I was looking at some quotes I want to share with you real quick, and then we'll be done. It says, starting slow is still a start. I mean, it's a simple thing. Starting slow is still a start. And maybe some of you might have gotten off to a slow start, and you're feeling like, oh man, everyone seems to be going faster than me, and she's already done this, and she already has her lessons and all of her PowerPoints done, and she has, listen, stay in your lane. Stay in your lane and run your race. You know what I mean? You're hearing me? You got me stumbling now. Stay in your lane. All right? Don't worry what others are doing. Yes, you may start slow and you might be looking at how your pace is compared to the others. Don't compare. Because if once you start comparing, you're going to become either bitter or you might find yourself thinking you're all that. And when you're not, and then you're not going to move as fast as you should. All right? So starting slow is still a start. And that's the main thing. All right. Another thing I want to share with you is this: no matter how slow you go, you're still lapping everybody who's still sitting on the couch. Think about it. No matter how slow you go, you're still lapping everyone who's just sitting on the couch. So don't be a couch potato. Don't be that person who's going to put everything on the back burner. That's not what I'm advocating. I'm just saying go at a steady pace. Pace yourself and so that you can last, so that you can push through. All right. Now, the other quote I want to share with you says, start slow and build up to faster tempos. So you're not going to stay slow, okay? But you're going to start off a little slower and then build up to faster tempos. Before you know it, you'll see some real results. Start slow. Think about it. Even when we are riding a bike or doing something new, we tend to start a little slower until we get the hang of it. Then all of a sudden you go fast. I think of my two oldest children when they were starting to drive, learning how to drive. They started off slow because they were hesitant. They were getting the lay of the land, you know. Even after my daughter got her license, she was like, you know, still going a little slow. Boy, once she got the hang of things, suck it to have the reminder, hey, lay off that pedal, all right? So it's okay. But know that as you start off slow, you will build up a faster tempo, a faster momentum. And pretty soon, you'll start seeing the results. And that's all you really want, right? You just want the results. Yep, that's what you want. So many will start fast, remember that. But few will finish strong. And at the end of the year, if you didn't have a chance, go back and check out our series we were doing on finishing strong. That's what we want to do. You know, it's about enduring to the end. The race is not given to the swift or to the strong, but he who endures to the end. So if you start, a lot of people start fast, but the few are finishing strong. And that's what Gary Blair said. The last one I want to share with you is actually my quote. Gary Blair shared the other quote, but I want to share my quote. It says, start slow to keep the flow. All right? Now, you know, I got to have a little poetry in there. Start slow to keep the flow. If you want to stay in the flow of things, start off a little slower, because slowing helps you to make any course corrections. You know, when you start off too fast and be like, oops, up, boom, 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 all over the place. All right? But if you start off slow, you can kind of correct as you go. That's another one. If you start off slow, you can correct as you go. So start slow to keep the flow. All right? Take time then, and I want to share with you as I end, to take time to pull back. Pull back just like the slingshot. Center yourself. Review. Reflect if you haven't done so yet. Strategize. Get re-energized for the road ahead. Set out yourself a set of habits and rituals and plans that you are going to be getting into each day. All right? Do that. And you will find that this year, 2021, will be the year that you will say, I won. Yes. W-O-N. So 2021 is our year to say that this is our time that we have won. And we want to do that by, first of all, starting off a little slower. So we are grateful for the wisdom that comes from the slingshot. All right? Pull back. And when you release, you find yourself going faster, going further, and hitting your target. All right? Until next time, I want you to keep learning and growing, because what we learn becomes a part of who we are. And like Einstein said, once we stop learning, we start dying. So, never stop learning, because life, as you know, never stops teaching. Until next time, this is Dr. Sham saying, to your success.